In today's video, I will be doing a full 2022 midterm prediction. This will be my second to last full midterm prediction, as the final one will be on basically election day. So yeah, I will start off with the Senate, governors, and then finish off with the House, and the chapters will be in the description and pinned comments down below, so you can just skip to whatever section you want to listen to about. Now I'm gonna get right into today's video. I filled in some of the safe states because they're just going to waste our time if we don't fill them in. Now for the likely states for the Democratic Party, there are obviously two states that will be in the likely Democratic column, Washington and Colorado. Both of these states have Democratic incumbents. Washington Democratic incumbent Patty Murray isn't all that popular, but I still think that she should be able to win re-election given how blue the state is. The next state is Colorado. Colorado with Michael Bennet. He is also decently popular and decently unpopular, but he should be able to still win the state of Colorado, given that it is a trending blue state. Now for the Republican Party, they have quite a few likely states, especially given that the current national environment is trending towards the Republican Party. Wisconsin is the first likely state with Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson, I do believe, will end up winning this race against Mandela Barnes. Mandela Barnes just really isn't that great of a quality candidate in the state of Wisconsin. Now for the state of Ohio, this is also a likely Republican state. Tim Ryan and Josh Mandel. Tim Ryan is a decent candidate on the Democratic side, but it's just not going to be enough in a Republican-leaning national environment. Another state that Democrats will simply not be able to make much inroads, given the Republican-leaning national environment, is the state of Florida. Marco Rubio won his last election by about 7 points, and I don't see this race being below 10% in this election. Now, it might be a 8 to 9% margin for Marco Rubio, but in the end of the day, Val Demings will easily lose to Marco Rubio. The next state will be the state of North Carolina. Ted Budd, he is doing pretty well against Sheri Beasley. Sheri Beasley is currently a Supreme Court justice in the state of North Carolina, but she won her last election extremely narrowly. I just don't see her winning yet again. So that is 49 seats for the Republican Party. Now I'm going to go to the final, I believe, 5 states, which will be the most contentious 5 states in this election. I'm going to start off with the state of New Hampshire. In the Northeast here, I do believe Democrats will end up winning. Maggie Hassan is not necessarily the best incumbent. He's not as popular as his co-senator from the state of New Hampshire. That being said, I still think that he should be able to win, given that New Hampshire is still a Democratic-leaning state, and a state that really typically does vote for Democrats in the past 20 years or so. The next state is Pennsylvania. Though polls still suggest a Fetterman lead, I just don't think that will be the case on election night. And also, Oz has led in his first poll ever since polls have started, and by 5%. The other polls also showed a very tightening race, and RCP now finally has Mehmet Oz ahead of John Fetterman. Now, FiveThirtyEight still has this race in the Democrats column according to polling data, but that really doesn't matter. It was 7% just a few weeks ago, and now the difference is just 1%. That shows you enough for the state of Pennsylvania. Now for the state of Georgia. If Republicans were to win the Senate, even if this race does go to a runoff, Democratic energy will be low and turnout will be low. Now, when turnout is low, typically that means the Republicans do better. We saw that in the Georgia election runoff in 2020. Turnout was extremely high for a special election, given that turnout was about 82% of the original presidential election turnout, which was one of the highest in the last 100 years for a presidential election. Thus, if turnout is low, I still think that Herschel Walker will end up winning, given historically runoffs are just not favorable for the Democratic Party. Now let's go to Arizona. Arizona is an interesting state. Arizona typically has its polls actually overestimate Republicans. However, that was not the case in 2020, and I don't think that will be the case in 2022. Mark Kelly's lead was not nearly as large as it was for him in 2020, and even then he only won by 2.4 points 4 to 5 points below the expected polling victory for him in that state. Thus, I will put this in the tilt Democrat-Republican column, but that could easily change. The final state is the state of Nevada, with Kevin Cortez Masto against Adam Laxalt. Even Democratic-leaning YouTubers does now suggest that Nevada is likely to be won by Adam Laxalt, which I do agree with. Now, Kevin Cortez Masto isn't a terrible incumbent, but she only won in 2016 by a margin of 2.4%, exactly the Hillary Clinton margin, and a Joe Biden margin in 2020, which won't probably be enough for her in the midterm that is like this. Thus, I'll put it in the lean Republican category, and we finish off the Senate election ratings as of 9 days before the actual midterm elections. Now we go to the governor's elections, which has a lot more toss-up races, given that the governor elections are not nearly as divided as the presidential election or the Senate elections. First off, I will be giving the Democrats their likely seats, as they are really trailing behind the Republican Party by a lot. You need 26 seats to control the National Governors Association, but that does not mean much as they don't pass bills as a whole, they pass bills on a statewide level. So, Democrats will end up winning New York, obviously. I think that although the Democrat there is not super popular right now, it doesn't really matter. New York is New York. The state of Rhode Island as well, I don't think that Republicans will, make this race super competitive, but it's probably going to be within 15. Connecticut, some of the same things there. FiveThirtyEight has this race currently at a D plus 13 advantage for the Democratic Party. I don't think it's going to be that high, but I think Ned Lamont's approval rating has risen by quite a bit, and he should be able to win in Connecticut. Now going to the state of Colorado. The Democrat there, Jared Polis, is actually really popular. He won his last election by 10%, though it was in a blue wave such as 2018. Thus, I'll still put in the likely Democratic column. He should be able to win by about 7 percentage points statewide. I think that's all the likely Democratic states. Now let's go to the likely Republican states, which of course have quite a bit in their column as well. The first state is Alaska. Republican Mike Dunleavy, I believe, should be able to win against the Independents and the Democratic Party. I think Alaska is quite interesting with its ranked choice voting system. Nonetheless, the Republicans will definitely be able to win this race. Another race the Republicans will definitely be able to win, but the margin will be closer in, is the state of Texas. Beto O'Rourke is just not running the best of all campaigns. He's less pro-gun. He just has some issues that may be winning for him in nationwide elections, just simply will not work in Texas. Texas is a very pro-gun state, and the Beto O'Rourke has definitely become much more anti-gun than he was in 2018, which will hurt his race in the state of Texas. The state of Kansas here, Laura Kelly has a very decent approval rating, especially in such a red state. However, approval ratings doesn't really matter that much for governors compared to some other factors. She was able to win in 2018, given that there was a third-party independent who took away probably 7% of the votes that likely would have mostly gone to a Republican candidate. Further, Chris Kobach was just not the most popular Republican candidate the Republicans could have won. He only won his primary by freaking 100 votes. That is just not a lot for the state of Kansas. And next, the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis should be able to defeat Charlie Crist. Democrats haven't fundraised a lot in the state of Florida. They don't really plan to win this state. Ohio and Iowa, similar stories. I don't think the Democrats are necessarily anticipating victories in either of those states, thus they're not spending money in those races. Thus, they should go to the Republican Party. For the state of Georgia, Stacey Abrams, I do believe, will lose to Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp did very well in the primary elections, and really Stacey Abrams is just not running the best of all campaigns, and Democrats are not funneling any money into this race at this point in time. Finally, the state of Wisconsin. Though Democrats are trying to win this race, I think it will be much more difficult given that Ron Johnson is also on the ballot, and he is expected to win by about 6% in my opinion, and thus the Republicans should be able to win the Wisconsin governor's race as well. Now we have the final races here. The 8 toss-up races will be in the lean or tilt category for both parties. The first state I will characterize is the state of Oregon, which will be in the tilt Republican category. The independent there is splitting away a huge chunk of the Democratic vote. I originally, I believe, months ago had this race as a likely Democratic seat, and now it's a tilt Republican seat. Given that everything has changed at this point, Oregon, the incumbent Democrat there is not popular whatsoever. The independent is expected to split nearly 20% of the vote from the Democratic Party. Thus, that will not be helpful for them in Oregon. Nevada, though there is no vote splitting that state, Republicans also have their own things to be happy about. First off, in the state of Nevada, Democrats, though they have a decent candidate, it's not that he's super spectacular that he'll be able to win this race in a Republican wave. And also Adam Laxalt is on the ballot, which should help them win this race, given I have already characterized this race as a lean Republican seat for the Republican Party. So yeah, for the state of Arizona here, I think that this Republican will be able to carry the other Republican into winning this race. Kari Lake, though not necessarily the best candidate, the Democrats definitely have ran a very bad candidate as well on their side. So this race is really just how bad the Democrats candidate really is in Arizona. Now for the state of New Mexico, the incumbent governor there, I still think Michelle Lujan Grisham should still be able to win New Mexico, given that it is still a Democratic-leaning state. Furthermore, her scandal is just not really reported on the news, thus really attention for her to not win re-election has really came down, and thus he should be able to win by a narrow margin. For the state of Minnesota, Tim Walz is decently popular. I still believe that he'll be able to win. For the state of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer isn't like the most popular candidate, and thus I don't think she's gonna do that well. Republicans also have a pretty trashed candidate, but in the end, I think the Republicans will narrowly edge out the state of Michigan. For the state of Pennsylvania, though, it does look like Josh Shapiro is definitely leading in that race, given some of the polling data that has came out. Unlike John Fetterman's lead, who has tightened to just 1% on the 538 motto, his lead has expanded by quite a bit. Previously, we were talking about a potential John Fetterman victory and a potential Doug Mastriano victory. Now it seems like it's flipped, that it's potentially Josh Shapiro victory and a Mehmet Oz victory. And thus I'll put this race in the lean Democratic column. Finally, for the state of Maine, Janet Mills I still think should be able to win, though it will be quite close. Now for the House Elections Interactive Map, I'm not going to show you state by state, but this is roughly what it looks like, with the Democrats at 194 and Republicans at 241. And looking at the state, district by district results here, you can see that there's a lot more red than blue. That being said, Republican districts are typically larger given that they are in more rural areas. Still, Republicans are expected to win this House by a 47-seat margin in my opinion, so they will cross the line to win the House of Representatives by a total of 23 seats. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I make political content just like this one, and thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye!